Um, just to do a very quick introduction for anybody who hasn't been on here before. I'm Angela Murray from my business is called Living Life in Colour, and I like to inspire people to get back in touch with their creativity. And today's guest is Irina Sweeney. And Irina is I know I'm going to get this wrong, a values coach, amongst other things, not just that, but likes to. Well so yeah, that's the starting point. Yeah, just really, I love the way that you described your style of coaching, which is to help especially busy women get back in touch with their values, because it actually does make a massive difference to the whole of your life. So I'd love to have a bit of a chat about that today, but I don't know if you want to do a little introduction of yourself first.
Well, you probably did it really well. So yes, so I'm a transformational life coach by degree as such. So last year when we went into lockdown, I was actually training to become a life coach. And then once you understand the trade, then it's kind of understanding what's your niche and what do you work best with. And this is when I discovered that I really loved working with values, and I really loved helping people, you know, helping women discover their values, because it's so easy just to get busy, get stuck into, you know, careers and families and kids, and like everybody in anything is a lot more exciting and a lot more important than us. So we don't really spend time to understand our values and understand how do we align our lives so we can have better experiences. How do we align our lives to our values? So this is what I've been doing since then.
And values are really interesting because I know when I first studied it, I thought, oh, well, honesty is one of my values, or being authentic. But actually your values run a lot deeper than that. And what you think are your top values are not necessarily those things that actually light up your life. And I found it really fascinating that one of my values when I went through the exercises was ease. And I wouldn't have put that at the top because I thought it was really driven and I want to do well in my business, and but actually ease was super, super important to me, ease and having time. So our values are not always what we think they are. Yeah,
it's interesting what you say because I think you're still driven, but like, do you want to go hard to achieve what you want, or do you want to go about it with ease and enjoyment? You know, there are different ways to approach anything. Just because you like it easy doesn't mean that, you know, you don't want to achieve anything, or you don't have aspirations, or, you know. I like what you say. I also find that people quite often make a mistake of calling, let's say, what are your values? And especially women, they'll say family, you know, family is my value. But when I've been through the training, and I'm sure you know it as well, one of the hints to understand what is your value, what is not your value, is trying to imagine, can this object or thing or a person in this case be physically moved from one place to another? And if it can be, then it's not a value. So family can live in Auckland, then they can move into Tauranga, for example, like you know it. And so it's not a value. But then the next level of questions will be, but what about value? What about family that is so important to you? And then people start going, you know, maybe it's a sense of connection, or maybe it's love, or maybe it's loyalty, honest, or whatever that might be. So family normally, especially for women, is just like almost our face value, you know, like we're all about family, you know, we're caring, we're giving. But actually, what about family that's really important to you?
Yeah. And it goes both ways. It's like you need your values met by your family as well. It's not just about what you do with them. But definitely. I think it's quite an eye opener. If anybody wants to give it a go, definitely get in touch with Irina to find out more. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because a couple of years ago you did Dream Big, Paint Big with me, which I absolutely loved watching the transformation. And just the sort of letting go and being more free. But just wondering if you could talk a little bit about what your journey back to creativity was, and yeah, that's probably it. What was your journey back to your creativity?
I think I never saw myself as a creative person. And that's because you benchmark yourself against, I don't know, your favorite artist, or you know, a painter, or like something who actually has it as their craft, you know, as what they do in life. And so I kind of had some glimpses of creativity in myself, but I never really thought about myself as truly creative. When I look back, I'm just thinking, I used to, like, look at all the, you know, look at all the examples that you've had in your life, and, you know, even from childhood. And yet you kind of, you know, you grow up and then you stop looking at yourself as creative. And another interesting thing that happened to me, I worked in a company where they had HBDI profile as one of the tools. So it's like there are many profiling softwares and questionnaires. So this was the one that was preferred there. And it basically divides people into 4 quadrants, and it goes by colors. It goes like red is people's person, then green and blue, and I confuse which one is what, but one of them is like facts and figures and numbers, another one is process driven, and then yellow is creativity. So there were 4 quadrants. And so when they did my profile, so 2 things stood out. One is that I'm all about people and processes, and then the most deficient quadrant was bloody creativity, and it was yellow. And you know, it was just like a nail on the coffin. I'm like, really? And it's almost like somebody confirmed it to me. Yep, you're not creative, forget about it. And so that was quite an interesting, and I remember they even gave me a yellow teddy bear, a little teddy bear, so I can put it somewhere, you know, obvious, so I can strive to inject, you know, more creativity in my life. And so that was quite fascinating, because when, you know, it's almost like, yep, I found an evidence. That's it. But now I understand that actually I'm not even sure whether it's the right way to judge people, because I just think, you know, even people who love facts and figures, you know, they can be creative in their own way. So yeah, it's almost like after that, because that yellow teddy bear was kind of in my face every day, I was trying to understand, okay, so how can I inject more creativity? And then I like, for example, organizing, you know, like photos or something for the family, either it's in an album or, you know, this is my husband, but I can do other boards as well. And that was one of the ways I thought, that's creativity. But then I started doubting myself, thinking, well, it's only creativity because it's kind of, how do I say it? It's because I like things in an orderly fashion. I try and make it more creative. So I still felt that the ingoing position was me trying to be like orderly and perfect, you know. And so I think the reason why your not challenge, what would you do, course,
dream big, pain big, experience.
Experience, good word. Experience. Why that was attractive to me was just for the pure reason that I can just do something I've never done before. And because I've never done it before, I didn't really have any expectations. And I thought, okay, let's do something that I've never done before. Let's go into it with just openness, see what happens. I don't have to like it. I don't have to hang it on my wall. You know, nobody has to know about it. Plus, I think it was in the middle of winter. It was miserable weather.
Yes.
It was really stormy quite often. And you lived in Torbay, I live in Linfield. And I remember, I think it was Wednesday night or something like that. In the middle of the week, after work, I'd race home, I'll change, and I'll get my, you know, apron and all this stuff, you know, my pants and things. And then I'll go like 45 minutes to see you. And that was actually a highlight of the week, because that helped me to pass on, you know, really miserable winter time. and I was doing something that was really fascinating and really interesting for me. I haven't experienced it before. I remember one challenge that at the very beginning was the whole, when you walk into the room and there's this bloody white canvas. That was the freakiest thing ever. I'm like, what am I going to do with it? Because again, like recovering perfectionist, I remember it was a horrific experience just looking at it and thinking, where do you start? I painted before. I'm not an artist. I'm not creative, you know. So that was quite, that was fascinating.
That one, that was a bit sneaky on my behalf, actually, because I used to deliberately keep the door shut until we'd gone through all the introductions and everything, and then I would wait until the point when we go, right, we're going to go into the studio now, and then I'd open the doors and I could hear people go because standing in front of a white canvas is very scary, and I guess I always, for me, dream big, paint big is a metaphor for life, and that's what I teach when I'm doing it. Is this isn't just about painting on a big white canvas, because that is what we face pretty much every day in our normal lives. If we want to make a change, it can often be a big white canvas or a pathway that we've never been down before. And how can we trust ourselves or believe in ourselves to be able to take the next step to actually to make that change or do something different, or in this case paint the painting with no subject in mind can be a bit scary.
Or not even overthink it, just do something.
Anything, like you said, like you could do the boards like that are behind you, or some people do scrapbooking or knitting or crocheting or gardening, whatever it is, just something that feeds that part of your soul. It doesn't have to be painting.
That's interesting what you said about knitting and crocheting and stitching and cross stitching and sewing. This was my childhood, and growing up I did so much of it, but because it was driven by survival, because, you know, we didn't have a lot of money and we didn't have a lot of interesting, you know, colorful stuff in the shops, so it's almost like you make it not because you like, I wasn't relating to it as creative expression. It was like out of necessity. And then I forgot about it. I completely like removed it from my life, because, you know, you start earning money, you start discovering, you know, that you can buy things and more things appear on shelves. And then that need just disappeared. But I went back into knitting last year and I love it. Like, it's so much fun, just because I don't know. I'm doing it for a different reason. I'm doing it because I really love it.
That you're enjoying it. It's quite meditative. That's the right word. Yeah, just that constant click, 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 click. Yeah, I quite enjoy it. So what do you think changed during Dream Big, Paint Big? Has it had any other effects in your life post sort of unleashing your creativity?
I think it's that whole idea of being relaxed about it, not putting pressure on yourself, and then not trying to make something that other people will approve of, or, you know, you'll get a medal for you're the best in the field for something. So it's just kind of do stuff that you like, you know, and just enjoy it. I remember when I brought home the painting of mine, because I'm still like, oh, you know, don't want to look at it. Like, you know, yes, it's my work, and yes, I enjoyed experience, but I just put it, you know, like in the darkest room or whatever. And my husband and my daughter, they were like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And I'm like, beautiful about my painting? Like, I'm not an artist. Like, what are you talking about? And so they actually cleared a space, and it just now hangs in the living area where we have.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually like probably the first thing you notice when you walk in, you know, through the door. So it was very generous of them to I suppose support me, and it kind of grew on me. And like every time I pass it, like the colors just make me happy, you know, because it's all stuff that I like, and some raspberry colors there and some gold. So I really love watching it, you know, every time I pass it.
Yeah,
So it's
funny because sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but I think sometimes we look at our work and we see all the errors, the mistakes, and the things that we didn't quite mean to do. And other people look at it and go, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if they were being generous or, like you said, generous and supportive, and maybe they just really like it.
Well, yeah, let's hope that they really liked it. But I remember showing them the progress, you know, like 1 week after the other, and it's almost like, yes, after 6 weeks, I've created a finished product of whatever is hanging now. But every week there was something different. So it's almost like, if you think back, I probably created 6 different things. It's just the latest one.
Yes, you just happened to stop there. You could have kept on going, I guess, but that was the end of that particular session. So So what advice would you give to people who are sitting in the I'm not creative camp?
Well, I think you probably told me when we started, when we knew each other first, that everyone is creative. And if you doubt that you are, probably go back into your childhood and remember what you've been like, you know, like remember the storytelling that you had, you know, like the fairy tales that you've heard and that you were told, or, you know, like stories that you created about something magical, you know, magical friends, or things that you did with your fingers, with your hands, like with paper, with pencil, or stuff that you were digging out in the garden. I don't know about New Zealand or UK, but we had this thing in Russia, where I'm from Russia, clearly, where you just find a glass, like, so unsafe, like a broken glass from a bottle, let's say, and then you'll make a secret of it. You'll put some petals, some flowers, something underneath the glass so you can actually see it through, and then you dig it somewhere in the yard, and then only you know where it is, and then you dig a little hole and you see a little window, and all these little beautiful things will be like under showing.
Oh, cute.
So that's creative, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sure that every single childhood would have some evidence of creativity. So maybe tune back into that.
What was it that? Yeah, what did you like to do when you were a child? Yeah, I mean, I always was not so much drawing, actually, probably more coloring. I loved coloring, and I loved playing with clay or plasticine, making things. And I think the thing I love about creativity is you take an idea, or you take some things that don't really mean anything and you join them together, and suddenly you've got something new in the world. I think for me, that's what being creative is about, is taking different ideas and making it your own, and then suddenly there's something that wasn't there before. And, you know, art and painting, it I guess is definitely a version of that. So I mean, I've no idea where this is going. This is mid whatever. And that's fine. But it's a bit of an exploration for me, is just trying, like you said, try different things. Eventually something will probably stick, whatever it is that actually lights you up. So do you think there's benefit? Yeah, sorry.
No, maybe even go back and actually try and do that thing that you liked as a child, you know? Because I remember playing with paper all the time, you know, like something, rewriting, let's say, lyrics from a song, and then like in a beautiful notebook, and just putting some pictures there. I couldn't draw, well, I didn't draw, but do something like that. Or we would create houses for like paper dolls inside the notebook, where you glue two sheets of paper together, and then you draw like a house, and then you cut out like little windows that you can open it, and, you know, like,
cute.
Like doing furniture for dolls from matchboxes, so that you can upholster them together, and you can do, you know, little sofas and stuff, and, you know, clothes for dolls, like all that kind of stuff. And when you think about what I like doing now, it's probably same stuff, but just on a different scale, really.
Yeah, much bigger.
Yeah, I'm just into journaling. I really like my notebooks.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about journaling, because you do quite a lot of around journaling, don't you?
Yeah, Yeah. So like that, I love obviously still doing crafty stuff with my hands, like knitting or sewing and things like that. So just going back what I remember I loved and I could lose myself in. Same
Yeah.
things now, so nothing changed.
Yeah. I know when you were doing the journaling, but also at one point you had pens and other things. I don't know if you
Online.
still do. Do you still do that? I don't know.
No, that was like
But
that's
yeah,
4 years ago, I think.
yeah.
Online
I still I still use the pens that I bought, and I loved. What I was going to say though, it wasn't so much the pen arriving in the post that I'd been looking forward to, was the fact that you had wrapped it and it had a string or little messages, and for me that was super creative, and that was the thing that really made it when it arrived, because it was like, first of all, it was something in the mail, and then secondly, it was like it was a present, even though I'd bought it for myself. Yeah, so I loved that. That for me, that was really creative. Just how you sort of packaged all that together, and yeah.
But it's about understanding how can you create an experience with online shopping, because online shopping is fairly faceless, right? Well, not faceless, but it's functional. So how can you actually, when you go, and to me, because I was dealing with premium stationery, it's a very tactile experience, you know. You just want to touch it, and you want to sometimes, you know, like sniff new paper. Maybe it's just me weird, but
no, it's not just you.
I was thinking, okay, so somebody doesn't have that experience and they buy something online. How can I create still something, you know, uplift them when they receive it? So that was my intention.
Yeah, that's really good. So do you use journaling with your coaching clients? Is that something?
This is one of the tools that I always recommend, yeah, because it's when you think about how we learn through our experience, but this is only a tiny portion of how we learn. We learn better if we reflect on our experience. And you can do reflection in different ways. You know, you can do reflection with your friend when you talk about it, or with your family, or you can obviously do reflection with your coach, and the coach will ask you certain questions about, you know, what have you learned and what was the best, what was, you know, the most joyful experience and how did you like it, all that kind of stuff. Or you can actually do self-reflection when you write. And it can be about any kind of chunk of time. It could be anything, let's say a specific event, or it could be at the end of the year, you reflect on the year. Actually, it's fun stuff. We started doing this tradition, was it 2-3 years ago, as a family. On New Year's morning, like on the 1st of January, we exchange letters. So I write a letter to my husband and to my daughter, to Jonathan and to Alina. Alina will write a letter to me and to Jonathan, and then Jonathan will write a letter to me and to Alina. And the whole, it's almost like a love letter. It's a letter where, you know, I will reflect on my experience with you over the year, what I liked, you know, what, you know, I don't know, adventures we've been together, or how you helped me. And it's like 3 of us all sit around the table like crying and reading. It's a very emotional experience, but equally highlights something that may not be very meaningful for you. You know, like I remember my daughter was telling about, I think we went to, I forgot the actor's name, English Australian guy who, The Showman, The Greatest Showman.
Oh, Hugh Jackman.
Yes. Why do I have Hugh Grant in my head? Yes, Hugh Jackman. and so I thought that I invited you to come to a show with me. And she did. And at the time I thought, she just kind of went along because she didn't want to disappoint me. But actually in her letter, like, she was writing about it and how wonderful it was, or like little advice maybe that I given her throughout the year. Wow. And I just thought, oh my God, like I had no idea that it was actually meaningful for you. So yeah, so that's another form of self-reflection. Or you can go for a walk. About stuff. So
yeah. I think that's a fabulous idea, the letters, because we assume a lot, really, don't we? When you think about it, like you said, you assumed that she just came along because she felt obligated to, or but actually you don't always know what's going on inside someone else, and it's good to also reflect for yourself what the year has been about. I know when me and Rob first got together, and I was doing my coach training at the time, I asked him to write down what it was that he loved about me. And he wrote a couple of pages, and I had wrote something back to him at the same time. And the things that he said in there were things that I didn't think that he'd even recognized in me. And I actually laminated it, and it's in my bedside drawer. And I every now and again, if I'm feeling, a bit wobbly or whatever, I just pull it out and go, oh yeah, that's what we saw in each other, and he's still got his as well. So I think that's a really nice idea on reflecting for yourself, but also engaging with the family as well. I can understand why you'd be sitting at the table crying. Yeah. I was going to ask what sort of tips you could give to people for either a creative life or their best life. What sort of things have you come across that can help people live a better?
One of the things, like I said, potentially go back and remember what you liked doing as a child, and maybe try there, like not go back physically in time, but try and replicate, maybe go into that playful zone. And if you liked, like you playing with, some dough, whatever, just try and do that. If you like drawing or doodling, try and do that, see what happens. So that would be one. The other one, I kind of feel like when we age, we just become so freaking serious about everything, and we go with, with the full intention to become someone or be the best or be at least someone who matters in the field. And I just feel like just be playful about it, Don't put the pressure on your creativity. Just express something. And then one of the greatest kind of playful entries to there could be question what if, what if I was pretty? What if I find painting fun? What if 10 minutes of journaling every day will bring me joy? What if I do this knitting, every night, it could, like the whole kind of what if. And that might actually loosen you up a little bit. So yeah, because I think when you become too serious, it's almost like it's you don't see the way out. You just see all the things why you shouldn't do something.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, we reach an age where we start to get bothered about what other people might think, and which has fascinated me for a number of years, actually, after I discovered creativity and stopped thinking as much about what people think. What occurred to me was that I don't feel that my opinion of somebody or something should really matter to them. So why does their opinion of me matter to me? Their opinion of me. And it sort of dawned on me, it's like, well, actually, if I think my opinion of them is not important, then yeah, why is their opinion any more important? But we box ourselves in, and so we get scared to try new things, or we immediately, the answer is no before we've even had the chance to even consider it. So I love that idea of, well, what if, what if I might like to move to a different city, or it could be as big as anything, really, whatever's holding you back.
I just think that when you do something that you really love, when you're in the zone, I feel like you can help but be creative, and you can help but discover new ways of doing things, or Yeah, because like you can be creative about the bloody spreadsheet, right? Like, who says you can't? You know, you can be creative in anything. And I just think once you really step into it, you really embrace it. Like last year, it's quite funny. I was trying to find a disc for the room that I'm created for myself. And I couldn't really find anything in the shops, like regular shops. Everything was like bulky or for soulless or whatever. And so I went to Junk and Disorderly and I bought some really old discs, like for, I can't remember how many dollars. And then I came home and I'm like, I want to upcycle you. And like, I've never done this before, but because I haven't done it before, like, because I'm unleashed, you know, I can probably take any project. I'm like, why not? Let's just see. And then I started, you know, painting it. And then my daughter said, oh, you should, you know, try and dry brush it, whatever the technique was. She showed me and I'm like, tried. Oh yeah, that worked. And then my auntie, I was sending some pictures back home, and my auntie goes, oh, have you tried decoupaging? I'm like, what's that? And then I started Googling decoupage. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So it's like all the things that, you know, that I did, not because I was experienced, but because I was curious enough and I didn't really have an expectation what it's going to look like. I'm just creating. It's a bit like starting painting with you, you know, like who knows what's going to appear on the canvas at the end or what's going to be the finished result. I don't know. So
I love that how you describe that. You just give something a go. You can find everything on Google, YouTube. And just being curious enough to go and actually look for it, or find groups of people who do something similar to what you might want to try. I think we live in an age now where we can actually tap into so much knowledge. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but if you've got an interest, like if you've got an interest, there's bound to be lots of other people that are doing the same things. Just being open enough to go, I don't know how this works. I'd like to learn. Is there somebody out there that I can tap into? It doesn't have to be a course or anything that you pay for, but I think we've got more opportunity now to find people who are more like us, I guess.
It's easier to connect, I suppose. But I like what you said about kind of having this learner's mindset. Because again, going into the past, I remember thinking, oh, by 25, surely I'll learn everything I wanted to learn and I'll just be like calm and peaceful forever. And then you get to 25 going, actually, what about this? What about the other? So it's the whole mindset of being like a forever learner and just like a sponge, and whatever comes your way is like, oh, isn't that interesting? What about this? I didn't know that. So it's child mind, isn't it?
It is, definitely. And we were talking about that because I've been running Dream Big, Paint Big online. So I've been working with people all around the world. And one of my absolute favorite things is, because I leave all the mics open. I prefer them to all to be able to talk to each other. And somebody will go, oh, what are you doing? And then they'll ask a question. And then there's a technique that they're using that I don't necessarily know. And then they show other people. And for me, I love that because, you know, I only have as much knowledge as is in my pea-sized brain. And so that idea that they can share their ideas and their knowledge, I absolutely love that sort of that interaction. And we're always learning. So I'm constantly learning from the people who come to work with me. And I feel blessed that they actually come along and share their knowledge with me. That's really, I really love that.
It's child's mind. It's being a learner. It's being open to new experiences. Because openness, I think, is another quality that kind of comes hand in hand with learning, with child's mind. Like, what else? You know, like you don't know sometimes, like I said, you know, the outcome. All you want to experience is the process. So you just open to it and then you see where it leads.
Yeah, I think that idea of being curious, or I sometimes say embracing the mystery. Yeah, and it happens when I walk up to the canvas, that just, well, what's the next step going to be? Well, all I need to know is the next step. I will choose a color and I'll choose an implement, not necessarily a brush. And that's all I need to know in the moment. And then I do that, and then I go, okay, what's the next color, or what's the next implement I'm going to use to create with? And not thinking too far ahead, I think, is important.
Yeah. Who is that writer? I think it's Anne Lamott, I think. She had a, I think one of like all-time bestsellers is Bird by Bird. And I think it goes back to her childhood experience when she was attacking like any project or whatever. I think it was something to do with her science task at school, and how her dad was saying like, how do you write it, or how do you write about it? So bird by bird, so just describe one bird and then the next one and then the next one. And this is probably very similar to what you're describing, where you don't look at something in totality, because that could scare us. But if you just do like, okay, one color at a time, one day at a time, see what happens. Again, that playfulness.
And that's the same, I guess, with the coaching that you do, is that you're not trying to say to them, right, okay, tomorrow after this session you're going to go and change the whole of your life. All you're really looking at is what's the next thing, or what one thing can you do to get you heading in the direction of your dreams, or it's otherwise it's really overwhelming.
And sometimes I think as a beginner's coach's mindset could be, I just want to help so much, I want to do something really meaningful, I want to create this immediate shift or whatever. But sometimes this may not be what that other person wants, and it's like you're warming in a relationship to each other, you're getting to know each other, and it's a process. And what I love about the whole idea of transformational coaching, that we're not coaching a thing or a problem, we're just coaching a person, a whole person. And you know that you're capable and creative and wonderful. You have all the, choices and all the resources that you want to have to achieve whatever you want to achieve. I'll just help you along the way. I'll just be by your side. We can just be, together in it. So,
I think, it sounds perfect way of making big shifts in your life, but without, it could be small shifts, like something that seems small to us could seem really big to someone else. Just making yourself happier and living the life that you want to live, but one very small shift at a time, rather than it needing to be too big and too scary.
But it's also similar to how you work with clients. It becomes not about you as an art coach or life coach or transformation coach or values coach. It's about you as a client. What do you want? It doesn't matter. Like, I shouldn't really come into it with my view or vision or agenda for you. I don't have a prescribed, steps 1 to 40. Just, like, let's just see what happens between us, and where do you want to lead?
I love that idea. Like when people come into sessions and it's like, what are we presented with today? Not I have a list here and we're going to work through each thing and tick it off. It's not that at all. You're sort of following. I used to talk about it like following their journey, the path that they go on in that particular session,
and their pace, and their pace as well. Like there's a danger of us, rushing someone through the process or rushing them to their goal. And then if they're not kind of catching up with that pace, that may be problematic. So you really need to tune into, their pace and where are they at the moment, and where do they want to be. And you can actually be at the same, stage to really unpack it, for a few sessions, and it's okay too. There's value in each and every.
That's cool.
Is it
Yes, somebody has obviously just arrived at the door, so I think it's probably a good time to end because that noise is not going to stop. Now I've got two of them. They set each other off. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for today. Before you leave, can you just give people an idea where they find you so that they can work with you?
Obviously here on Instagram, you can find me Irina Sweeney Coaching. Or on my website, irinasweeney.com. So you'll see everything I do there. You can book a free session with me, or I do a free life satisfaction session. All the links are on my Instagram as well. Or actually, there's a good journaling tool, a free journaling tool on my website, where you can find your values through journaling, through a series of questions that I give you. So that could be of interest.
Cool. I'll post some of your links anyway, just in case people didn't catch that because of the noise. I apologize for that. Best laid plans. But yeah, thank you so much for today. I really, really enjoyed it, and I loved working with you when you came to work on Dream Big, Pay Big, and just absolutely love what you've done since then. And I think you're an amazing coach. And people are really lucky to be able to work with you. So thank you for spending lunchtime with me today.
Thank you, Angela.
Cool. Okay. See you online.
Yes, see you online. Who knows? Maybe in person at some stage.
Yeah, once lockdown's over.
Yeah, true. All right. Well, you have a lovely day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.